This not good enough. It comes up so often for people. How do we deal with
Absolutely.
that?
That's such a great question,
Mm,
Kasim.
mm,
I remember hearing Tal Ben Shahar, who was one of the
mm,
kind of original, teachers of positive psychology. He had the most
yeah.
popular course in Harvard's history,
Hmm.
and was a featured guest on the Daily Show back in the day. I was really excited about that. But he talked about the idea of being happy while going for it. Like I was talking about
Mm,
that earlier. I alluded to the idea of like while we're going for something, while we have a goal,
mm,
our directive is to find a way to be happy and to find flow in the process.
mm,
And I could feel not good enough. I'm not good enough in a whole bunch of things.
mm,
My exercise program, not doing very well in that.
mm,
Flexibility in terms of my muscles, I'm very, very stiff. I'm
mm,
definitely not good enough. But if I'm willing to look at myself and say, how can I compare myself to myself today versus yesterday? And
mm.
tomorrow's version, can I look at myself relative to myself, not comparing myself to Chris Hemsworth? That's not going to work. That guy is a beast. And if I try to compare myself to him in a host of criteria, I will feel
Yeah.
diminished. But if I can compare
Mm.
myself to myself, we may have a winner. And if I can also be kind to myself and remind myself that I'm not just an inflexible yogi.
Yeah.
Yoga and I have a very distant relationship, uh, and I'd love to cultivate one, but it's one of those
Mm.
things that can kind of it's always on. One of the other ones is dancing. Like I'm hoping to become more physically flexible in a dancer.
Yeah.
And I could look at some of the greats as they do their things. If I'm to look at myself and Bruno Mars, and like, no, I don't got those moves. It's the wrong criterion. But if I could look at myself versus myself and be
Mm.
gentle with myself as I build this thing and remind myself that I'm not solely judged by this one criterion.
Right.
I've got many other things, and I am complete. I am fine. I am full in spite of not having these. I'm just trying to bring these on as well.
Ah, this is so good. So you're not defining yourself. That's
Not at
like
all.
when I become flexible, like I can dance
Then
and
I
do a splits in the middle of a dance floor, then I'm good enough, right?
right, right, right. I mean,
No, it's a work in progress. There's you remind me of Wayne Dyer who passed away,
mm,
and he said something along the lines that really struck me, and I used to read his books as a teen and just kind of
mm,
lit my brain up. And he said, nobility is not comparing yourself to someone else, but to
really?
who, yes, it's comparing yourself to who you want to become and who you've become.
There you go.
So I was like, oh, that's nobility. Not like, oh, I'm noble because I'm better than someone. Do you know what I mean? It's like nobility. It's like, how can I continue to working on me? As you said so beautifully, ongoing. Right? Like
Ongoing.
acknowledge where I am and work in progress.
And it gives us, to use one of your languages, a raison d'etre. It gives us a reason to live
You're
when
right.
we have something that we're chasing, something noble that is for
Yes.
us and not compared to someone else. Again, I'd love to be, a good singer. I will never have George Michael's
Yeah.
voice. I talk
Yeah.
about George Michael as being one of my favorite voices of all time. And one of the other things that I also had to be okay with, because when I was going to high school, one
Mm.
of you basically had to pick a side. You were either a new wave person, a punk person, or a heavy metal
Right.
person. You could be all three of those things, by the way, but you definitely couldn't like George Michael because fourth that was a fourth domain, and that was not okay for guys. Another interesting thing, by the way, and I would imagine you relate to this.
Mm.
I basically had three food groups for masculinity. I could be, I could look at Joe Montana, a professional athlete. I could try to be like him. I could be like James Bond,
Yeah.
or I could be like a rock star. Those were like the three versions of masculinity that were available to us,
At the time,
and
yeah, yeah,
at
yeah.
the time,
Yeah, yeah.
and none of them resonated for me, and it was
Mm.
very confusing. I love all those guys. I mean, I love Joe Montana. I love James Bond, even though he's probably a psychopath. At least some I learned from somebody. He's got some dark traits.
Yeah.
And I love rock stars. But I'm none of those things.
Yeah, so the comparison, that's the thing. Again, working with not comparing ourselves down,
Right.
right? It's like, oh, what's wrong with me? But not good enough. But actually embracing whatever we're not happy with and keep going.
And try to be authentically ourselves.
Yeah.
Like okay, so if I'm not, I mean, I may have elements of those guys, uh, small ones, but I love
Mm.
throwing a football with my kids, and I love rock and roll, and I love adventures. I guess that would be James Bond.
Right.
Um, but one of the things that we can do is due to social comparison. I wasn't allowed to like
Yeah.
George Michael. I would be told I was a teeny bopper, and like they would some either misogynistic
Mm.
or homophobic term would be thrown my way if I was to say
Right.
to someone I love those people. And the fact is, you know in as much as when you order an ice cream, like somebody will order a flavor you find disgusting.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand bubblegum ice cream, and people love it.
How about garlic? I saw a place that had garlic ice cream. I was like, wow, okay.
That's actually near me. That would be out in Gilroy, the garlic capital of the world. Garlic
Yeah.
ice cream exists. I've tried it. It's actually not bad. It's not something I'd
Mhm.
order by choice, but
Yeah.
you know it when you taste something that you know
Mm.
is delicious, and you're not being told it's delicious. You know it's
Right.
delicious. And similarly, we have similar tastes. I mean, I'm not suggesting that some tastes can't be cultivated. Sometimes
Mhm.
tastes are developed. Like I didn't love this thing initially, but as I listened to it more, or as I ate it more, or as I saw more of the movie, I came to realize that this was something that could be authentically me, something that I could
Mm.
authentically love, and could allow
Mhm.
me to feel connected.
Hello there, and thank you so much for stopping by this channel. I hope you find this content useful, and if you do, feel free to hit that subscribe button. It will really help me to reach to more people and keep this content going. Here we are journeying together, and let's see where this takes us.